November 18th, 2006. 20-year-old Blake Zieto set out on his motorcycle to meet a friend. But his journey took a tragic turn. A truck coming from the opposite direction crashed with Blake. His motorcycle trapped beneath the truck, moments later erupting in flames. For the past 18 years, Blake's family has lived with unimaginable loss, fighting not just to honor his memory, but to bring the man responsible to justice. The driver of that truck that hit him was an undocumented immigrant, and he has been on the run since that day, leaving a grieving family with questions that remain unanswered. Today, we sit down with Blake's mother and sister. They share their heart-wrenching story of love, resilience, and an unyielding quest for justice. This is more than a story about loss. It's about the strength of a family trying to get justice. I'm Kiran Chawla, and this is Louisiana Unfiltered. Welcome back, everybody. We are joined by a mother and daughter duo. We have daughter Toni Lynn and mom Miss Judy. Thank you both for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
It's a tough case. It's one of those where you don't have, and I don't like to use the word closure. I feel like, in fact, I learned this from having done an interview with someone, and I made the mistake of asking that, do you have closure now? And they said, no, closure is when you close the book for good and put it on the shelf and you're done with it. Well, when you've lost a loved one, you're never going to close that book. So I learned a valuable lesson. The rookie reporter in me learned a valuable lesson that you don't ever get closure when you've lost a loved one, but justice. And in your case, you don't have that.
No, I don't.
So let's start from the very beginning. Let's start at November of 2006. And whoever wants to talk, Miss Judy or Miss Toni, whoever wants to kind of start us off.
You want to start?
Okay. This is so hard. But I know he'd be so proud of us.
Mm-hmm.
So, November 18th, 2006 was a Saturday, and it was my nephew's birthday. And we all lived next door to each other. So we were all next door at my sister's house celebrating my nephew's birthday party. His birthday's on the 20th, but they had the party on a Saturday, which was the 18th. And I was there, and Mom and Dad were there, our sister. We have an older sister, Heather, and it was her son's birthday party, and we were all having a great time. And we were laughing, playing with the kids, food, cake, everything, pin the tail on the donkey. And at the end of the birthday party, Blake and I left the birthday party and went over to my parents' house next door, and it was just him and I there. And he was like, I'm going to go lay down and take a nap. And Blake never took naps. He had so much energy. He was very energetic, just always happy, loved life, and lived it to the fullest. And he was like, I'm going to go lay down and take a nap. And I thought that was weird. But he went and laid down and take a nap, and he was laying on the couch sleeping like this. And I remember my nanny, Lynn, walked over to our house, and she was like, what y'all doing? And I said, shh, Blake's sleeping. He's taking a nap. And my nanny looked at him and she said, he looks just like an angel sleeping. And I told her, I was like, he never takes naps. I was like, so we're going to let him sleep. And then after he took a nap, I heard him call his girlfriend, and he was going to go and visit her in Gonzales, which would have been the opposite direction, so going towards Gonzales from Denham Springs. And she said, no, I'm studying. You go, do your own thing. So I heard him make plans with a friend to go meet at the McDonald's in Denham Springs. And so I knew that he was going to the McDonald's in Denham Springs. And he took a shower and he took his dog tag. He had a dog tag necklace that he always wore, and he left it on the bed. And he always wore it, but he left it just laid out on the bed. So I left the house to go do something. Blake left the house to go to meet his friend at McDonald's. And Mom and Dad were going to Walmart. And while I was where I was, I went to another birthday party and doing my thing. I just had this bad feeling in my gut, and I cannot explain it. And I just kept thinking about my brother, and I don't know why, but Mom and Dad went to Walmart, and so all this is kind of going on at the same time. I'm at this party having a bad feeling about something. Mom and Dad go to Walmart, and they're on their way home, and I'll let you take it from there.
So we came out of Walmart, and you could hear ambulances and fire trucks, and I mean, it was just chaos outside of Walmart and just passing. And I looked at my husband, I said, something really bad has happened. And so at that time, there was only one way for us to get home. Juba wasn't built yet, and so there was only one way for us to get home. And we came down the road, and they stopped us, and they turned us around. And we knew something bad had really happened, and we saw the helicopter go up. And I just looked, and it was an air med, and I looked at my husband, and I said, dear God, please don't let that be one of my kids in there. So I automatically start dialing numbers. I didn't know Blake had left. She knew Blake left, but I didn't know. And I woke him up to help his dad move something outside. So I have that guilt of maybe I shouldn't have woke him up. He'd still, he wouldn't have left when he left. But anyway, we got appointed, and they turned us around, and I just started dialing numbers. Well, I could not get in touch with him. So when we got home, everybody was standing outside because you could just hear the chaos. And it was probably not even 2 miles from our house. And you could just hear, the ambulances and everything. And I started dialing numbers and could not find Blake. And just felt really deep down, I just knew something had happened. It's just that motherly instinct just took over me. And then the phone rings. And we had just moved to Denham Springs. We had only lived in that house for 3 months. And the person that bought our house in Baton Rouge, he had our phone number and everything, and he called and said the police are at my door, and they're looking for Blake.
The family
of Blake. And they're looking for the family of Blake. And so she talked to him and told him, so what they wouldn't tell. They wouldn't tell him what they wanted us for. And so about that time, my phone rang, and it was the hospital saying that Blake had been in an accident and that we needed to get to the hospital. And I just said, is he okay? I mean, what happened? And they would not tell me anything.
They just kept saying, y'all just need
Y'all
to get
just
to the
need to get here.
hospital. And Dad was sitting, I'll never forget it because I got the call. And Dad was sitting on the couch watching TV or reading a book or something, reading the Bible maybe. And she was in her nightgown and came out of her bedroom and heard me on the phone. And I will never forget her standing there in her nightgown, and her knees were coming up to her chest. I mean, she was like almost jogging in place. She knew. And I was working on a senior thesis that night. I was in college, and it was about Nancy Grace. I was doing my senior thesis because I wanted to be the next Nancy Grace. And I was writing that when we got the call. And when she came out of her bedroom in her nightgown, she knew. And I looked at Dad and I said, Dad, Mom, we got to get to the hospital now.
So we walk in at the hospital and we tell them, we're Blake's parents. And they said, you need to come to this room. And there was 2 doctors in there, and my husband was out parking the vehicle, and I just looked at the 2 doctors. I said, if you're going to tell me anything bad, my husband is not in here.
I wasn't in there either. I couldn't go in that room. I was like, I know what that little room means. I'm not going in there.
And then the chaplain walks in, and it was like I knew. And he said, we did everything we could. He coded and, in airmen, we did everything we could, but we couldn't bring him back. And after that, I don't remember much except...
They brought us a plastic bag.
Oh, God, yeah.
With his helmet in it, which...
full of blood.
Was full of blood and other stuff.
I didn't get anything else. I didn't get anything else except the helmet in a plastic bag, a clear plastic bag that was handed to us.
His body was so
they wouldn't
mangled
let us, they wouldn't let
they
us
had to
see.
cut his nice leather motorcycle jacket off of him and his clothes and everything because his face was bashed in, unrecognizable, and he was crushed from his chest to his groin. His femur was
all because
everything.
Somebody
He was
decided to. There was alcohol found in the vehicle, so we know he hadn't been drinking. The man that hit him hadn't been drinking.
So Blake Zieto was 20 years old.
Right. Just turned 20.
Just turned 20.
Yes.
November 18th, 2006, killed on his motorcycle while going to visit a friend.
Right.
What do you know about the person who hit him?
At that time, the coroner was in there, and he says, we have to do an autopsy. I remember this part. He says, we have to do an autopsy. Where do we bring him after the autopsy? And I remember looking at him and saying, an autopsy? Why are you doing an autopsy on my child? Please don't do that to my baby. My baby's been through enough. Blake was the baby. He's been through enough. Why would you do that? I just remember telling him that over and over, and he just kept telling me, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. Well, about that time, the police officers came. And I don't remember that much of what they said that night. They did tell me that the man that killed Blake, that he had been in trouble several times before. But at that moment, they did not tell me he was illegal in the country.
And it was like a whirlwind.
Yeah.
Like they're telling you stuff and you're not processing it.
You're not processing it. No.
What you can't even process the fact that you can't take Blake home with you tonight when you leave this place. So, in your bodies, you're just in shock. So all those details, like that he got away, they can't find him, but they know he's illegal. It was just like
A big blur.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
you had just seen your own brother.
I was with him.
We spent the whole day together, and Blake worked at Dow Chemical. He worked in Dow Chemical, and he worked a lot of hours. And it just so happened that he spent the whole day with us.
And
I remember
he cleaned
that
his
day.
room
and he
that
cleaned,
day.
And he never cleaned his
He
room.
never cleaned his room.
And he cleaned his room that day. His room was clean. All the clothes were picked up. And he was singing that song.
He was blaring a song that a friend of
Yes.
mine wrote. When I get where I'm going, there'll be only happy tears. He was
Yes,
blaring that and singing that.
it.
And he met the man who wrote it, who was my friend when I lived in Nashville. And I said, Blake, do you know who wrote that song? He said, who? I said, Rivers. And he said, come on. And I said, yep. And he was like, that's so awesome. Well, he was just blaring it. And fast forward a little bit, but a couple of days later when we finally were able to walk in his bedroom at her house and we opened the closet, it was piled from the ceiling to the floor. He cleaned his room and everything was in the closet.
Shoved in it.
But it's like he knew. Like at the birthday party, I know I'm backtracking a little, but at the birthday party, we were talking, and I can't remember what we were talking about, but he just looked at me and he was like, he goes, it's a weird day. And I said, do you feel that too? He goes, yeah, it just feels weird today. And then he took that nap. And then he left his dog tags on his bed. And we talked about it. I mean, we were at my parents' house.
It was just a necklace he wore. It wasn't like he wasn't in the service.
Yeah,
it was just
a necklace he liked to wear. But 2 weeks. So Blake was the most giving person that, I mean, poor baby didn't have a lot to give. I mean, he was 20 years old, but man, he was going to give whatever he could. He'd give you the shirt off his back, and his girlfriend, they were girlfriend / pretty close to being engaged at the time. He gave her a promise ring, and for Mother's Day, he would buy her a Mother's Day gift. And they didn't have kids. She wasn't a mom, but he just loved to give. And 2 weeks before he was killed, he was at work, and a guy was like, hey, man, I'm not feeling good, but I don't have a ride home. And Blake handed him the key to his motorcycle. And he said, I've got my car here, or I can catch a ride with somebody else. Blake said, take my motorcycle, go home if you don't feel good. Well, when Blake went the next day to pick up his motorcycle, the guy was bandaged up and the motorcycle was messed up. And turns out the guy had laid it down or something. So Blake got his motorcycle back from the guy after letting him borrow it. And he spent 2 weeks working hard to fix his motorcycle, painted it and everything. And he was so excited. And he had just got it back looking nice. And this happened. And when we first did that story with you, or mom did it, I couldn't do much of anything or talk about it, but we didn't really get into all the gory details back then.
Things we found out from witnesses, because we went over to the scene.
So it's been 18 years now.
18 years, yes.
What have those 18 years been like for you?
Hell on earth. Hell on earth. That's the only way I can put it. Even though it's 18 years, sometimes it still feels like last night, like yesterday. But then there's times it's like your memories goes back. And I have dreams about him, but they're dreams when he's little. They're never dreams that he's grown up. I guess because he was my baby. He was the baby. But a lot of things that was told to us was told by witnesses and not the police.
Toni, let me ask you. So it's three siblings, correct?
Mm-hmm.
How close were you and your brother?
Oh, girl, he was my best friend. That was my best buddy. I was with her when her water broke. For him, she doesn't remember that I was, but I was with her. I was with her when her water broke. I went to the hospital. I was crying because, they took my mom to the back, and next thing you know, there's this beautiful baby boy with huge hands and huge feet, and he was so beautiful. So we have an older sister, Heather, and then I'm the middle child, and he was the baby. And Heather was old enough, 14,
she was 12,
13, 14.
Yeah, almost 13.
When he was born, so she was like, a good babysitter for him and caretaker. And I think that Heather and I became the moms that we are today because of my baby brother. That's how I first learned how to love someone, love a baby, and nurture them and take care of him. When he would be in his crib and Mom would be trying to get ready for work or whatever, or cook or something, and he'd be in his crib, he'd be holding on to the rails, and he'd be crying, and I'd just press my face against the rails on the outside of the crib, and I'd be nose to nose with him crying. I mean, I wanted to rescue him. We did everything together. I miss going on vacations. And I miss going to the movies with him and going to eat, or he took me to ride the mechanical bull at the Texas Club back when my daughter was a little bitty. He's like, you need to get out. I was a single mom. He was like, come on, you're going out. Back when I was a single mom, he took me out with his friends. He made me a part of everything. He included me in everything.
And he paid for everything.
And he paid for everything.
When they went out, he paid for everything.
I remember right before he was killed, because it was me and my daughter Presley at the time had just turned 3 that year, and he said, let's get an apartment together.
Oh.
And I was in college. I was about to graduate. And I had Presley, and I'm back living with Mom as a single mom and Dad. Blake's back living with Mom because he tried the apartment thing. We all end up back at Mom and Dad's. And he was like, let's get an apartment together, me and you and Presley. And I was like, I can't afford an apartment. He was like, I'll pay the rent, you pay the utilities and everything. He begged me. And we never got to do that together. But he included me in everything. He
was the best uncle.
He was.
He was the uncle at a young age, too. Mm-hmm. The best uncle. And when Presley was in a dance recital, her dad lived in Nashville and couldn't come down because they did the father-daughter dance, and she was like, what, two? Two. And he would leave work and go and practice this dance.
He would come home from work after working all day.
Yes.
Put her car seat, take it out of my vehicle, put it in his, load her up, and they'd go to dance practice. And he was in her dance recital with her as her, not as her dad, but because her dad
stood in for their dad.
Yeah. And he loved Presley. He loved Jaden and Victoria. That's Heather's
kids,
son and daughter. And I mean, everywhere Blake went, one or all of us was with him. We were all did everything together. Jaden, Victoria, Presley, we were all, it was just one big happy family. Even his girlfriend's niece and nephew, right? Yeah, his girlfriend's aunt's kids, her cousins were, I don't know, maybe like 8 and 10 or something like that. He'd go get them. They'd come to our house. He'd take them to the movies or whatever. He loved kids.
He loved life. He did. He loved life.
And he would have been such
and
a
to
good
have
dad.
it, oh my gosh, yes, he would have. And he
didn't get that opportunity.
Never got that opportunity to experience it.
Tell me about this person. Tell me about this suspect. Who is he? What is his name? I know we kind of opened that door that he was an illegal. Walk me through how you guys learned all that information. What is his name? And it's been 18 years until this day that man has never been found.
No, he's never been found. And to be honest with you, I don't think they're looking for him. After this happened, we went to the DA's office in Denham Springs. When we found out through the police that he had a criminal past, we didn't know he was illegal at the time. When we found out he had a criminal past, we went to the DA's office and well, he had a criminal past. Why is he out? I mean, they had no record of anything, nothing. We've called the state police several times.
We've been by there. I'll say this. When something like this happens, looking back in hindsight, you are trying to survive without somebody that was a huge part of your life. That was their child. When we got home from the hospital, I will never forget that night having to leave him at the hospital. When you want to take them home, put them in their pajamas, put them in their bed and take care of them, and you can't because they're gone. They're just gone. And I will never forget the sound that came out of my mom. That night I had to get up to go to the bathroom, and this will haunt me for the rest of my life. I heard her say, "I'm in my warm bed, and my baby's in that cold hospital." And that will haunt me forever. And at the funeral, my dad is a Vietnam veteran that is the strongest man I know. And to see him over my brother's casket. And
They only opened it and they had his face, they had from his chest covered, and they only opened it for a few minutes for us to say goodbye.
They had the bottom closed because they couldn't we bought him an outfit for his casket and for the funeral, and they couldn't put his pants on him. They stapled his pants to the cushion of the casket. They closed the bottom of the casket. They brought us in, and they looked at us, and they said, "He's covered with a doily, a pretty cloth." They said, "Promise us you're not going to move that cloth. You cannot see him." The funeral home director. And he said, his hair, you can see his hair and you'll be able to see one hand. But we couldn't fix his face. You you can't see him. You have to promise us you're not going to look because
And
you
we
don't
did-
want to
and we
see it. And
didn't.
we didn't.
I held his hand.
We rubbed his hair.
I held his hand and I told him, I said, because witnesses told us that he was so mad at whoever did this to him and did this to his motorcycle.
Yeah, I'm sorry to be graphic, but the truth is his bones were sticking out everywhere, and they said he was trying to get his helmet off, and his arms weren't working because they were so mutilated, and he was trying to take his helmet off, and he was like, "Who did this? Why did he do this? Why did he do this?" Because after he hit him head on, he then, while Blake was under the truck, he then proceeded to drive the truck forward and backward and forward and backward over Blake.
We learned that from witnesses.
So people think Blake was killed in an accident. Blake wasn't killed in an accident. An accident is
you get out
when
and
you get
help.
in a wreck and then you're like, oh my God, that was an accident. I didn't mean to do that. And then you go help the person. This was, he hit Blake because he was drinking and driving, hit him went head on with him. Then when Blake went on the ground, he rolled over him and he proceeded to back forward and backward because Jesus Maltos Chacon, however you say it, was trying to flee the scene in the truck that was owned by the construction company that he was illegally working for. And he was crushing him, rolling backward and forward over him. That's where all the damage was, that they couldn't save his life. And after...
The truck caught on fire also.
Yeah, the truck caught on fire with Blake underneath. Blake was screaming. So innocent bystanders, witnesses, went and all gathered around the truck, and they said, we got to get him out from under there. So Jesus was gone, ran away. We don't know where he went, fled.
He got out of the truck
Yes,
and
he
fled?
got out of the truck and ran on foot, left his 16-year-old at the time, 16-year-old son at the scene to take the fall.
And his cell phone.
And his cell phone. And his
left.
beer can or beer bottle. I don't remember what it was. And he fled the scene. And witnesses all gathered around, lifted the truck up so that some people could pull my still alive brother, what was left of him, still alive. He was conscious. He was conscious. They got him out from under. And one of the witnesses told me that he was like, man, like looking at Blake going, man, dude, like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, man. Help's coming. I can hear the sirens. And Blake was telling him, it's okay, it's okay. But at first he was trying to get his helmet off. Like, who did this? Who did this? And then the guy was like, dude, just stay laying down, because he was mangled. He was trying to get his helmet off, trying to sit up, and he couldn't. But he managed to look down at his body, and he saw his body. My brother looked down and saw his mangled body, and he said, oh my God. And he laid his head back down. And after that, I don't remember like when maybe he passed out, I'm not sure.
We don't know anything after that.
But since after that, we just thought that they were trying to find him and weren't going to stop. I don't know what's been going on, but when something like this happens, you're literally like trying to survive it. And I had a daughter and I'm in college, and this was like a week away from my senior finals, my graduation. And we thought that they were just going to solve this case. Mm-hmm. So
that they find him.
We were told, you step back, you stay out of it. We've got this.
Which police department was this?
Troop A.
Oh, state police took
State
it.
police.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because this happened on Highway 16 in Denham Springs.
Right.
So that is a state highway.
Right. Yeah, so it was Troop A.
Yep.
And we haven't heard anything since the day that we haven't seen or talked to him since the day that when they were at the hospital.
So in the last 18 years,
She went up to Troop A to find out who he was that did this. She went up there, and that's when we found out he was illegal. They had 3 mug shots of him.
And he looks different in each one
Yeah.
of the mug shots. Like every time he got it, every time he committed a crime, there was a new mug shot. So you could see over the years his look change. You know, he's aging, getting older, because in each mug shot, he looks older and older.
Because a couple of days later, Channel 9 showed his picture. That's when it came out, I guess, that he was illegal. And they showed his picture, and it was a picture of him like 20 years prior or something, because he had been in the United States. He was a native of Mexico. He had been in the United States for a while. He had kids in elementary school. His wife was illegal in the country also.
And they couldn't speak English, so when the police went to their house, supposedly there was a translator there, and the wife just kept saying, "I don't know."
She didn't know
I don't
where.
know.
Yeah,
don't
she
know,
didn't know
don't
where
know.
he is.
No,
She didn't know where he
English.
was.
Don't know. Like, she didn't know where he was. Her husband, where he had gone, leaving the 16-year-old at the scene.
But through our own investigation, we find out, you know, all these offenses that he did, and that there was that the judge had signed something for his arrest. I have a copy of that. But when we found all this out, I mean, it was like, wait a minute. You know, he's not supposed to be here. So why aren't y'all going after him? He wasn't, you know, to me, if it would have been somebody else, it would have been followed through with trying to capture him. But it was like it just, that was it. It was like,
weird.
Done.
A girl told me, well, this may be hearsay. A girl told me, she said, a good friend of mine is the manager at Walmart grocery store. This Walmart grocery store wasn't on 16 when this happened, so it was built later. She said, the girl called me and said, oh my God, the man who killed Blake shops in this Walmart to this day. This was a couple years ago. I know it was a couple years ago because I was living in the house I live in now, and I've been there for like 6 or 7 years. So this was a couple years ago. She saw your news story and the mugshot you put, and she said, I know him. That's Jesus. He shops in the Walmart grocery store. So according to her, and I was like, I need footage, and they wouldn't get it for me. I was like, I know you have security cameras in Walmart. When something like this happens, like, you just literally are trying to survive, and you just assume that people are doing
Their
behind the
Their
scenes
job.
and they're going to get him. And then a day goes by, and then another day, and then a week, and then a month, and then a year.
And then the
another
DA don't
year.
even have anything. I mean, this man was a criminal before. And he had I want to say an order of removal. And that was not carried out the month before he killed Blake.
Do you feel like the government let you down here?
Oh, yes, the government let me down. My husband's a Vietnam veteran who fought in the war to defend this country, to protect their borders. But our borders are wide open. And I've been to Washington several times trying to fight this.
Which opens the door to a very tense conversation about politics. It's unfortunate that you, not only locally, nationally, we are a very divided country.
Yes, we are.
It's become one of those. I remember seeing a meme around Thanksgiving that said, "What is the one thing you do not discuss at the dinner table?" What is your top
Politics.
answer?
Politics.
Politics.
Right.
That you just, if you really want to fight, you start opening that door. So I guess semi avoiding that topic to avoid a fight. I guess I do want to ask, though, you have been to Washington. Why?
Because I don't want this man is out there somewhere and probably driving around without a driver's license. I don't want this to happen to another family. The hell that we've been through, I don't want anybody.
And it has happened to so many.
Right.
Because since this happened,
we learned a lot.
You learn of a lot of other people who have been through something similar. It may not have been a truck that they were murdered with, but it may have been, can I say a gun?
I mean,
can I say a broomstick? One of her friends.
A paint roller.
Paint roller stick. The illegal put a paint roller stick through her son's head, and that's how he was killed. Her good friend came here legally to this country, did it the right way.
The right way.
He was a firefighter.
He was a dispatcher.
A dispatcher. And he was murdered by an illegal. And we just kept quiet about it for so long.
It didn't really register with us because we thought that he was going to be caught and, justice would prevail. That's how I looked at it. But as time goes on and you see that nothing is being, I went to U.S. Marshals. I went to the Attorney General's office. I've been to all the senators down here. Oh, they all know me.
We were fighting it. We were seeking justice. We were doing it, and we were told, zip it, be quiet, get back, stay in your own lane.
So who is telling you to stop talking?
It came to us from the U.S. Marshal's office. A U.S., not the office, an actual U.S. Marshal.
Did they say why?
No.
We were scared when they said that. We were like, oh, you're not allowed to
It was like we were getting somebody in trouble or something by us going through,
the local news.
Local news and stuff.
So you guys kind of go quiet.
Oh, yeah. We were like, oh, crud.
And then your sister, Miss Judy, reached out and said, hey, we need to do this story.
Yes.
And that was the last time that we spoke. But since then, you guys have learned so much through witnesses and kind of your own digging.
Yes, our own investigation, actually, yeah.
And I guess I want to ask, it's been 18 years. Does there come a point, a part of you says, this is never going to come full circle?
No.
Good.
One day, justice will prevail.
Yeah.
No, there will be no closure. When you lose a child, there is no closure.
Nope.
You have a hole in your heart that can never be filled, no matter what you try to do. Yes, I do have other children. And I ask myself, why every day did God take Blake? And I know you're not supposed to ask that question to God, but I do. Why did you take Blake? Why Blake? He had a heart of gold. Never hurt anybody. And in my heart, I know one day I want to be with Blake. I want to see Blake again. And I know that I've said this, many a times, that I forgive the man that did this. And I know I have to, because I want to see Blake. I want to be with Blake in heaven again. But deep down inside, I'll never forgive this man for what he did to my child. Never. He had kids. That is the most inhumane thing to do, what he did to my son.
And when Blake laid in that casket, she put her hand on the hand that was exposed. She put her hand on his and she said, I promise you I will get justice for you, and I won't stop till I do so.
And I won't.
And
I told my kids, the two kids, I said, the girls, I said, if something never happens to me, you've got to fight. You've got to continue this fight.
And I've been called unhinged for speaking out about justice for Blake. A lady called me unhinged, and
racist and everything. I mean, everything else. But
yeah. I said, I have what's called righteous anger. I'm angry, and it's called righteous anger. I'm not sinning. I can be angry and not sin. I can be angry. I'm allowed to be angry. And my brother was murdered. People are supposed to go to jail, go to court. You're supposed to get to face this person and say, look what you did to my family. Now you need to serve time. All that whole justice thing. And people call me unhinged, and I'm like, this is righteous anger. I'm not doing anything wrong. It's okay. I have a right to be angry. My brother was taken from us. He'll never get married. He got to meet Victoria, Jaden, and my daughter Presley, and thank God. But I have 2 more boys that were born after he was killed. One of them, his name is Blake. And he's got his blue eyes, and they have never met their Uncle Blake, but they know him because Blake is in me.
Right.
And he will live on through me, and I will carry on his legacy. Right. She will. My dad will. My poor dad, he can't even talk about Blake. He cannot talk about I think he's sitting in the truck because he cannot do this. The strongest man I know fought for our country, and he cannot talk about his boy. That was his boy. We threw the ball in the field. He'd throw the ball with him. Blake played baseball. We'll never get to experience Thanksgivings and Christmases.
I still can't put up
all
a tree
together.
At Christmas. It was his favorite holiday. And I can't do it.
We just want justice, like we want this guy found.
I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
If you can say anything to this man, what do you say?
Do you have a conscience? It's like, do you realize what you did? You killed someone. You did something you were not supposed to do. And you fled. And you saved yourself. But you left my child to die.
And left his own son.
And left his own son to take the rap for it. Mm-hmm. How dare you? What kind of person are you?
A monster.
And you can run till your legs fall off. But one day he's going to meet his maker. And that's when that's...
The thing is, if you do something that's an accident. One day I was driving down the road. Do you remember when I hit that bird? And I pulled over, and I was going to get out of my vehicle and get the bird and take care of it. And she's like, baby, the bird's gone. And I'm like, that's just what you do. When there's an accident, you do what you can to help. Are you okay? This man hit him and then chose to finish him off by driving forward and backward and forward and backward over him so he could get away.
Right.
I guess when you come here illegally, you think if I got away with that maybe, then all bets are off. I can do whatever I want. I don't know, because I'm a by the rule kind of person. I live by the rules, and it's not a gray subject for me. It's black and white. And the fact that you could run away from that and you're more worried about yourself getting in trouble than this person who's awake and aware and conscious of what's going on, and they're laying there suffering. Like, not you, but can one imagine the suffering my brother went through? Mm-hmm. Every night when I lay in bed, every night I replay over and over and over in my head. I know how my brother cries. I know how I lived with him his whole life. I know when he doesn't feel good, his not feeling good sounds, when he would be sick, or I know his, how he screams when he burned his hand on something. I know his grunts. One time he bit his tongue on accident and was like, I know the sounds my brother makes, and I can hear that in my head, even though I wasn't there. I can hear him laying under that truck hollering. And how do you run from that? I can't even sleep at night, and I wasn't even the one there who did it.
But I don't want to get political on this, but to me, he should have been deported the first offense he committed. Mm-hmm. Why wait 3? I think he had 3 criminal offenses before he killed Blake. Okay, wasn't deported on the first offense. Okay, why not the second offense? Why not the third offense? How many offenses before someone like this has to have consequences?
Yep.
And not even like deported, but like put behind bars and kept there.
Right.
The construction company that Jesus worked for was a construction company.
Bogus
we have
company.
The man's name. He lived in Denham. She said since then
They've moved.
He's moved. He's disappeared. But after so Jesus was driving that company's vehicle. After Jesus killed Blake in that vehicle, and this man found out about it, the man who owned the vehicle, the man who owned the construction company that was hiring illegals, he reported the truck stolen.
When something like this happens, you would think that it's all investigated, but it's not.
It just sounds like from the very beginning you've been let down, not just by locally, nationally. Right. Every agency has let you down.
I mean, by every agency, I have.
But you still have not given up hope.
Nope, and I will not.
And there is a process that the way this process works is the person is caught. You go to trial. There is the victim impact statement. And people don't realize how important that is, but that is the time when you get to look at that human being in their eyes and say whatever you want to them. And though it's not going to bring your loved one back,
right?
It's
right.
It's a big release that you can finally begin the process of knowing, okay, we did everything in our power.
Jesus, Maltos, Chacon, do the right thing and turn yourself in. Blake,
and go ahead.
My mom deserves this. My dad deserves this. Our family deserves this. Blake deserves this. He suffered beyond what anyone could possibly imagine. But I know that he is smiling down on us, and I know he's like, Mom, Toni Lynn, you're awesome. He came to me in a dream, and I used to like drive around, and if I'd see somebody that looked like him, I think, oh, Blake's not really gone. It was a mistake. And I would turn around and I'd go pull in the parking lot, and I'd be like, oh wait, that's not him. I would call Heather and be like, hey, Heather, our sister, like trying to just figure things out. And I'd just lay in bed at night, like racking my brain. And one night I had a dream. And in the dream, I saw my brother in a crowd, and he looked so beautiful and perfect, and his beautiful blue eyes, and he was so happy. And I went up to him, and he's just like happy to see me. And I'm just like in awe. I mean, my brother's been dead, and now he's standing here in front of me in my dream. And to him, it's like, hey, I'm having fun. What's so shocking? And I'm like, I found you. And I was like, I found you. And I've been looking everywhere for you. And he put his hands on my forearms. And this is in my dream. And he looked at me and he said, Toni Lynn, when you need to find me, don't go driving around in your car looking for me. Don't call Heather and try to see where I am. And don't lay in your bed at night racking your brain. And he held my arms and he said, when you need to find me, you go straight to the Father. And when I woke up from that dream, I could feel my brother holding me. Yeah. So I know he's proud of us.
I know he is.
And it takes everything in you guys to even speak about this. And I thank you guys for coming forward, and
we appreciate everything you've done.
Yes,
thank you so much. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I can't thank y'all enough.
Amazing.
You're welcome. And I pray that if somebody is out there, to our listeners, I mean, this is not just local, national. How do you know that somebody out there doesn't know something, doesn't happen to run across this name? If you know something, call somebody. If you can't think of who to call your local police department. Call Crime Stoppers. Call our local Baton Rouge Crime Stoppers, 225-344-STOP. You can be eligible for a cash reward. It's the holidays that are coming up. How do you know that it's not your one tip that leads to something, and that's just extra cash for you in the holidays? If that's what kind of gets you going, then do it, because you will give this one family the justice, or begin the process of getting justice that they need. Miss Judy, Miss Toni Lynn, thank you again for joining us.
God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you.
To our listeners, we thank you for joining us, and as always, we will see you on the next episode of Louisiana Unfiltered.